Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life. All right, welcome back to Black Lodge Trivia Night, taking a look at Free League's The One Ring, 2nd edition. As you can see, again, it's just going to be me tonight. Matt and Patrick are off in the traveling production of Hamilton, and so they can't be here this evening. So we're going to get back into The One Ring. As we said, last session, a couple things happened. One, I rambled way too much, so I just want to apologize. I'm still not good at this at all. Two, we did character creation. That took a little bit longer than I was expecting because of the aforementioned rambling, and also because I think I made a couple of mistakes and had to go back and check things and so on and so forth. And then we got into the adventure itself, which involves starting out in Bree, specifically at the Prancing Pony, and waiting to meet with our patron, Gilrain, who we eventually met and had a council session with, where we successfully convinced her that we might be able to be doing more for the Rangers. And with that, she's like, yeah, sure, okay, let's take a look. And so she gave us our quest, which was enemy patrols prowl along the roads, targeting merchants and supply wagons. Who leads these deadly patrols? And what we decided was we got the roll right here for that. And then, so I did a general lore table roll, and it was prevent old power. And so what I sort of interpreted that to mean is that what's sort of potentially maybe behind this is Gilrain suspects the return of like a more ancient evil. Not like Sauron coming back, but maybe there's some much lesser form that's sort of coming back and harassing people, maybe trying to grow in strength, maybe trying to grow followers. And what we decided was that it was here in the North Downs. Actually, what I should do is I should switch to this map. We're here in Bree. And we decided something was going on up here in the North Downs, and maybe that Gilrain was concerned there was some bond forming across this gap with Angmar. So she's tasked me with going and taking a look. And so what we're going to start by doing, and we'll see how well this goes or how badly it goes off the rails, we're going to start a journey. So the first things first, what I'm going to do is, I think I showed it last time. I'm going to bring up the journey. So we're trying to get to the North Downs. I think I can make this bigger. You know what? This is... Okay, so that sort of encompasses where we have to go. So let's move this around a little bit. Now, a journey is a very specific thing in The One Ring. In the full game, what you would have to do is you would have everybody sort of fulfilling a role, which is very typical of sort of the travel segments. Definitely like Forbidden Lands. I apologize, I can't remember. Dragonbane has these sort of break the day into 4 shifts. Forbidden Lands absolutely does, and one person leads the way, one person's on watch. So I think there's 2 main roles you have to fulfill when you travel. In The One Ring, there's 4. There's guide, hunter. I thought I had this. Guide, hunter. And the important thing is that every single one of them has to be fulfilled. Every single role has to be fulfilled. And so there's a guide, hunter, lookout, scout. Guide's in charge of all decisions concerning the route, rest, and supplies. Hunter's in charge of finding food in the wild. Lookout is in charge of keeping watch. And the scout is in charge of setting up camp, opening new trails. Whoever plays the guide cannot assume another role. If you're the hunter, you can also be the scout, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, but the guide that's your only job on the trip. When I played The One Ring the first time, we only had 3 players. So if one person's the guide, the other 2 have to cover 2 jobs each. We didn't know that going in, so we were completely unprepared. And so anytime we had a journey, which is supposed to be a big part of the game, we just got decimated. And that was a big part of, I think I said last time, we didn't make our characters right. because we didn't really know the mechanics well enough to know what would be coming down the road. So in Strider mode, it's very different. You don't have to fulfill all 4 roles. What you do is you, in a way, have to fulfill all of them. And there's sort of a slight change in procedure to determine what happens when. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by... Let's see, to resolve a journey event, so the first thing we need to do is we need to start figuring out our route. Let me just... Opening up all these books. Again, I wish I could have... I guess I could have. I wish I had prepped more and brought stuff in. So I wouldn't have to go through the book so much, but we'll see how it goes. So, because yeah, I've got the Strider rules, I've got the actual rule book. So normally we would, the first step is to set the journey path. Now we're trying to get from Bree to the North Downs. Oh, I guess I should place, okay. So we're trying to get to the North Downs from Bree. Now we could cut to Fornost and over, but then we're going to be going through a lot of dark lands. And dark lands means like we're more likely to... For things to go poorly. And so what I think I need to do is, because I'm a solo player, I need to take the longer, safer path. But what that means is we're going to encounter more sort of random events along the way. So the first thing you're supposed to do is you're supposed to plot your path. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot a path around Weathertop and then over. That's the general path. Now, after you set the path, and the scale for this map is every hex is a day's travel. I wonder, can you click and drag, place waypoints, control click? So if I start measuring, let me see. Oh, I see. Yeah. That's cool. So it's saying it's going to take like 15 days. That's a long trip. So we've sort of set our path. How long would it take if I went as the crow flies? Which you rarely want to do. It'd take about 8-9 days. But that's really going to go right past Weathertop. Going to go into the Midgewater marshes. I feel like a lot of bad things can happen if I take that path. So we're going to play it safe. So we've done step 1, which is to trace our journey path. Let me see. Then the lore master checks the map on the back, draws the company's itinerary, of course. Now we have to make our marching tests. Okay. And the way you do this is you basically keep making tests, and certain results means an event happens in 3 days, certain results means 2 days, certain results means it happens the next day. And you keep doing that until you get to say, like, here, and you get an event that's 3 days away, so nothing else happens. So that's sort of how you parse the journey up. Let's see. As soon as the company leaves, the guide makes a first marching test and counts the number of hexes along the journey based on the outcome of the travel roll. Okay. If the travel roll was a failure, the event occurs 2 hexes away in the summer and spring, and 1 hex away in autumn. If the travel roll was a success, the event takes place at a distance of 3 hexes plus 1 for each success icon. Doesn't seem to matter for the weather with successes. So I think I said in the last one that we're coming off the sort of our Yule fellowship, whatever. So I'm going to say, I'm making assumptions here. I'm going to say that means we're heading into spring, but it might still be late winter. I'm not sure. We'll say it's the end of winter, so it's still, like I said, there's a chill, there was misty, but we're heading into warmer months. Okay, so that's the next step. So now the marching test, now I'm going to switch back over to the Strider rules just to see how this works. Okay. Let me think. Okay, journey rolls. The journey rolls are not used in Strider mode. Instead, your player hero must tend to all aspects of travel. You will still roll for the journey events, see below, but those events are keyed directly to skills instead of rolls. Okay. So I think what we do is we're just going to roll a journey event. Journey roll tables, journey event. What's this one? I don't think I need this event target because so if we were in a party, what you would first do is you would roll to see, is the event something that happened because of the scouts, the lookouts, or the hunters. So you would roll this, and in this case it would be the scouts. So then you'd go over to your character and roll your explore skill, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to do that. We just go straight to the journey event table. Now, if you remember, did I want to tweak anything for my character sheet before we keep going? Oh, I don't need to do that. I can just access it from there. I keep forgetting. So the thing I was trying to figure out, did I want to stick with swords and bows in this pattern? Because Strider mode allows certain combat options for ranged fighters. Basically, there's an extra, there's like open stance, defending stance. There's all these stances you can assume. There's an extra stance in Strider mode called the skirmisher stance, I believe. And that allows you to sort of keep your distance. It allows you to try and seek higher ground to get bonus dice. And so it really needs the bow to be the primary weapon. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do that really quickly. Nope. There we go. So my main weapon is going to be my bow instead of a sword. I was contemplating a spear. Spears can do a lot of different things in different stances, like in defensive stance, like they're a little more defensive. You can keep people away, things like that. The sword in two-handed mode, which is what I'd be doing because I have no shield, does a little bit more damage and is lighter than at least the heavy spear. So, anyway, although there's something very thematic about being a spear guy. I'll stick with the sword. If I were playing in a group, this is probably a terrible admission. If I were playing in a group, I would probably go with a spear for the more thematic build. Playing solo, I feel this urgency to min-max a little bit more. I don't know if that's fair, but anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to roll on the journey events table. I'm trying to figure out how to use my... Let me see what happens. I'm trying to figure... You can't see it down here. I'm trying to figure out my hotbars. And I feel like... these random tables might be a good use of it, just so I'm not always trying to hunt around. What are my Strider roll tables? Oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to... What happens if I bring the whole... No. Okay. I don't need patron quests. Fortune, ill fortune, these are all useful, but... Anyway, so here we go. So the first thing we need to do is we need to roll, and I think I just did. Draws 3 results from the event table. Okay, so I need to actually look at why the table's giving me 3 results. Journey events table. Okay, so if I rolled a 1... Oh, I see, okay. I wish there was a way to see there is a way. I wish I were better at coding macros so that I could enter like a 1d12 or 2d12 keep high, 2d12 keep low, whatever, instead of having to change the formula in the sheet. So, if within the borderlands, make a favored roll. So the borderlands are going to be I guess the freelands? Or no, the wildlands would be a straight. Yeah, I would guess the borderlands would be green, maybe. Wildlands are yellow. Darklands are orange, which would be, you know, an ill-favored role. Now, there's something, though, about my patron that I don't think I'm remembering. Let me see if I can figure out if I typed it in or if I need to look it up. Let's see. Resolve journey events within the old realm of Arnor, as if in a borderland. Okay. So I guess if I were in Arnor, I could go into the Darklands, and assuming these are all Arnor, I could go into the Barrow Downs maybe, and it would still count as a borderland. But that's not the case. So we did I rolled an 11, which is an Eye of Sauron, which means it's the worst. And so what that means is it's a terrible misfortune. If the roll fails, you are wounded. Now, 3 fatigue points gained. Here's what I think I can ignore that because I took my special ranger power of I don't gain fatigue when I'm traveling. So I think I ignore that part of it. I hope. But now what I need to do is I need to roll a terrible misfortune, and I need to know what skill. Okay. So what it's saying here is based on the result from the solo journey events, imagine an incident or an opportunity in a way that fits the current situation and surroundings. Then make a test using an appropriate skill, explore, awareness, or hunting. Check the solo journey events table for the consequence of this skill. Reveal the nature of the event using the event detail table below. So that's interesting. It's sort of, in my mind, it's putting it in sort of the reverse order. What I would do, I guess narratively, it's like, yeah, do whatever you want. In my mind, I would sort of reveal the nature of the event using the event detail first to give you some prompts if you want, and then start imagining and then, you know, go with the skill. So we're going to go with the event detail, terrible misfortune. Just got to find that. Nope. Here we go. Event detail. Let's see. Where did I put that? Telling table? No. Lore table? No. Event detail. I definitely did these. Event. Here we go. Is this what I rolled? Roll journey event table. Okay. And then I got terrible misfortune. Sure. And then I need to roll a d6, which is the terrible misfortune table. So I just have to find that. I guess I didn't set this up quite right. So let's find the terrible misfortune. Let's roll that. Okay, so event is a hidden hazard. Outcome is awareness to avoid stumbling into danger. Consequence of the skill roll, if the roll fails, the target is wounded, and the fatigue points gained would be 3. Okay. Maybe for some reason, like, because I'm using tables and subtables, I'm not getting quite the detail I need. So, what I need to do is, okay, it's a hidden hazard. The outcome of is an awareness roll, so let's do that just to see how that goes. Awareness I'm not bad at, and I think it's just I don't think I need to mess with the target number. Let me see. Yeah, I think fatigue is just... I don't think you just gain fatigue for no reason. All right, so I'm just going to try for my awareness roll. It's got a target number of 13. It's a favored roll. So I'm not going to use hope because I feel like I've got a couple of good things going on here. Definitely got it. I didn't get any extra successes, though. So what we're going to do is there's a hidden hazard. We've successfully rolled awareness to avoid stumbling into the danger. So we're not going to get wounded, which is good because wounding can really, really mess you up. And so let's figure that out. Let me see. Okay, so, did I need to figure out how far away it happened, though? I do. So let's figure out how far away that happened. That was supposed to be the first step. So that was going to be 2 hexes away. We needed to do a travel roll. Okay. So let me do that really quickly, just to see how far away we would have done this. Travel. Pretty good at travel. That's good. Okay, so that's great. I rolled a 20. I didn't do well on the on the D12. I got a 3, but I got a 5 and 2 6s on the D6s. So the 6s are going to be extra successes, which means that it was a successful roll, which means we're going to get to go 3 hexes without the event happening, and then because of the 2 bonuses, so we're going to get to go like 5 days before this event happens. So let's move our party 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this is the hex in which the event takes place. And we still haven't determined what it is. So let's say we're just southeast of Weathertop. So let's say that we're spooked by everything I know about Middle Earth. I know from old Middle Earth role-playing supplements and more recently Lord of the Rings Online. So let's say like crows, spies for the enemy. The crows, they're flying around, and what ends up hidden hazard. I don't know if that's quite right. No, let's say it was a hit. Maybe they swarm out of nowhere. And in my panic to avoid being seen, I almost take a really nasty fall that could have really injured me and hampered my journey. But I managed to avoid that, by successfully passing my skills. So let's say that's the first go of it. Now, again, if we were, doing all this, we would. What I really like about this game in theory is, in theory, what I should be doing is, what you could do is let's draw text. Can I type? Somehow there's a way to type, but, if I were smart enough, I could figure out how to make this overlay a form fillable PDF or something. And what I would do is I would start to, it's the year, what did I say the year was? I know it's 24 years after the events of The Hobbit, but I'm forgetting when that is. It's, so you could fill in the date 2965, season would be spring. We're journeying from Bree to the North Downs. Days of travel, you'd put 15, and then you'd put everybody's name in the company, and you'd sort of mark their roles. In Strider mode, it would just be, I'm the captain now. And then you'd start marking your travel fatigue. If we didn't have our special ranger power, I'd mark 3 there. We don't have any horses. Horses, ponies, they help you reduce your fatigue at the end of the journey. Events, we would have put hidden hazard, the result was success, and then you can sort of fill in the journal. Anyway, what's really interesting about this game is that it's even when you're playing in a group, it really sort of encourages the journaling part of it, as you might in some solo RPGs, because it's really trying to create, it wants you to be able to look back and say this was the story, right? And so as much as I was looking for Middle-earth Role-Playing 2, the sequel, bigger and badder, I really appreciate what this game's trying to do with touches like this. It's trying to really make sure that it's as much about the journey as it is the destination. And I think it supports that mechanically. I find these touches really interesting. And it requires a buy-in on the players, right? If you're just like, this is stupid, let me punch something, this isn't going to work for you. But if you have players, and I feel like most of the people that I roleplay with at this stage in my life, not that there's dozens of us. I think a lot of people will be like, yeah, of course, let's shoot the breeze as we travel and get into it a little bit and see where it goes. So there we go. That's the first stage of our journey. So now we have to figure out the next stage. So what we need to do is we need to do another travel roll. Bring up my character. Again. So going into character creation this time, I knew travel was going to be important because of the Strider mode, and I knew that I needed a little bit of hunting, explore, and whatever the other one was. I wanted to make sure that lookout is... I wanted to make sure that I had the basics covered so I wasn't getting so jammed up on this part of the game, which, like I said, decimated my first real try at it. So here I rolled a 16, which is a great success, which means that while again, I didn't knock it out of the park on my D12, I got a 6. I did roll 2 2s and a 6 on my D6s. The D12 I got a 6, I'm sorry. The feat die is what I should say. The success die, the D6s, I got 2 2 and 6. Again, the 6 means I've got an extra success, which means I'm going to be able to go 3 and then 1 extra for that extra success before the next event takes place. So let's go 1 2 3 4. There we go. So now, for those that are listening, we are now just east of the Weather Hills. So we've made our way around the corner of Weathertop, followed the Great East Road, hooked north around Weathertop, and now we're sort of keeping the Weather Hills to our west. Again, the Weather Hills are considered like Darklands on the map, so I'm, again, trying to skirt that. One thing I forgot, I'm just going to do it really quickly. I think in the last session I had a critical failure. I rolled an Eye of Sauron, and I think when you roll an Eye of Sauron outside of combat, you're supposed to increase your eye awareness. So I had one last time, and on my first journey roll, I think I had an 11 as well, so that's 2 here. So I'm going to up my eye awareness to 4. I just read what that does last night, but let me... Oh, wait, no, there are special rules in the Shadow, in the Strider, that might modify it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just quickly figure out the adventuring phase, revelation episodes. Yeah, the Eye of Mordor. Okay. So again, the starting numbers are all the same. It's 2 if you're an elf or a Dunedain. I'm a Dunedain. 3 if you're a high elf. That's what it was. Add 1 for each famous weapon or armor you carry. So as you get further into the game, like if you have the sword Sting or something like that, that's going to draw more attention. So whenever a die roll is made outside of combat and you roll an Eye of Sauron, regardless of whether the roll reduced in a success or failure, raise the awareness by 1. Whenever the player hero gains shadow points, which means if you either choose to do something that's not heroic, not a little more evil, or you encounter certain types of things in the world, greed. Let me see. If you have a magical success using an artifact or wondrous item, that's usually if you use something specific, and then you get a Gandalf rune icon on the D12 on the fate die. That can also increase the eye. Let's see. Also, an eye on the ill fortune table will raise the awareness by 2. Oh, wait. Was I on the ill fortune table? I don't think I was. No, I wasn't on the ill fortune table. Okay. Yeah, I gotta make sure I remember all of these tables. Yeah, I can bring some of them up really quickly. Nope, not there. PDF, collected tables. And you know, at the back of Strider mode, they just give you the appendix. So like, there's the experience milestones that gives you, you know, how you get your experience points. Fortune, ill fortune table, telling tables you see here is the chance of something happening. The lore tables, you know, it's just you start with a fate die, a d12, and then you go to a sub table of a d6 to get some inspirational adjectives, words, actions, whatever. Special success. We haven't had to use that quite yet. Risk levels. I haven't had to use that yet either. Solo journey events, that's what we're doing right now. And then the subtables for those events. Anyway. So yeah, there's a number of tables. Just got to make sure I, you know, don't lose track of them. So resetting the eye awareness. Awareness score does not increase during a fellowship. At the beginning of the following adventure, you reset it to its starting value. So if, no matter how much my awareness goes up, beginning of next adventure, it goes back down to 2. The hunt threshold for a lone player hero is the same as a company. So there's Borderlands, Wildlands, and Darklands. I think we'd be in a Wildland where the hunt threshold would be a 16. So right now we're at 4, and I think once you cross that threshold of 16, you have something called a revelation event, an episode, a revelation episode. And then you roll a die, and something breaks out. In Strider mode, a revelation episode represents the influence and actions of the enemy. To determine the nature of the episode, roll on the table. Great. And then once you've triggered the episode, reset your eye awareness to its starting value. So, and, you know, on these tables that we were just looking at the revelation episode table. So you can see here, like, unexpected danger arises, nature's corrupted, you know, something bad happens. And it's sort of up to you to sort of figure out what that is a little bit. So anyway, so in theory, again, you want to avoid that. So I think I made my roll, so we're going to be able to move another 4. Now that I've rambled on about the Eye of Shadow rolls and whatever. So yeah, we've got the Weather Hills to our west, and now we got to figure out what this event is. So we're going to roll again on the journey event table. Okay, I rolled a 1. Now, 11, remember, is the Eye of Sauron. A 1's just normally bad. So despair. If the roll fails, everyone in the company gains 1 shadow point. So, yeah, I don't know if I set these tables up quite correctly, because what I actually need now is the despair table. Maybe that's what I should have done, is you know, there's also these encounters on the roads. So, like, when I was on the East Road, could I have rolled this encounter? It's not clear. I guess this is just something you can have in your back pocket. I guess. What I need now is... So I'm going to remove these macros. I'm going to put the journey event. Okay, so we've got... Despair. Ill choices. Let's get these set up just so I can save a little time. Mishap is next. And then shortcut. These are when it starts to get in your favor. Shortcut. Chance meeting. These are another good one. If I can find chance meeting. Then there's the terrible misfortune, which is a total, you blew it. And then the Rune of Gandalf is a joyful sight. So in this case, what we actually need is the despair. So let's grab despair, which is the worst. Event, grisly scene or foreboding portent. Outcome, awareness to be forewarned. Consequence of the skill roll. If the roll fails, gain 2 shadow points dread. And then again, we would gain 2 fatigue points. So you can see how fatigue racks up, right? And, you know, fatigue... When your fatigue starts to get... I guess it's... My endurance is a 25, and my load is 8. I might have done this wrong. It doesn't seem to be... My load's 11. And so when you start to have like your fatigue plus your load jamming up your endurance, then you start to get like weary and then things start to snowball. I think that's sort of how it works. So yeah, as you can see, I would have gained 2, like I would have potentially have already had 5 fatigue points, which makes sense. And then you can spend a day resting and drop some of the fatigue and things like that. So again, it's really trying to make this narrative out of the journey. And I think it makes the narrative out of the journey a little bit more than... So the one I have the most experience with is Forbidden Lands. And in Forbidden Lands, our group tends to fail a lot of our, lead the way and keep watch rolls, which is funny and then leads to a bunch of random encounters. But it's not quite the same. It's just you fail the roll, random encounter, pass the roll, keep moving. Here, there's a little bit more to it. You're getting like the fatigue points. Do we manage that? How do we do this? It feels a little more detailed in some ways, maybe a little less detailed in others, but both good. So I need to roll awareness. Awareness is a big one, so I'm glad I favored that. So we've got a good roll. We got a 10 on the fate die, so that's going to help us get where we need to be. And then a 5 and a 1 on the success dice is not great, but it gets us a 16 over the target number of a 13, so that's all good. So we're going to be forewarned. And now we just sort of have to figure out what that is. I wonder... You know what? As I said in the last one, I had another tab open here with the Ironsworn. Let's see if there's something here that, I don't know, monstrosity? No, that's not really it. We're looking for something that's just... What did it say it was? It was a grisly scene foreboding. Let's that's fine. Let's see if there's maybe something from these tables. What I'm looking for here is the lore table. Let's see if it gives us some words to mess with. Replenish restored riddle. You know what? Here's what it is. Let's say that there's like a stream or something coming out of the hills, and there was maybe a family of travelers, maybe, or like a small merchant convoy, and they stopped, set up camp because of the stream here in the fresh water. They figured it'd be, they were close to the Weather Hills but not in them, so maybe they thought they were a little safe, and they were raided by orcs out of the hills and slaughtered. And so that's the event that's what I stumble across. And maybe what happens is because I was forewarned, so I knew I was walking into something that could be terrible. And so maybe what happens is one of the merchants was wounded and managed to get away a little bit, but died closer to where I'm approaching from. And so I saw that an attack happened. I knew to sort of steel myself as to what I might see, and there we go. So, all right, 3, 4, 5. So okay, so we've made our way. We started in Bree. I think I might have counted wrong, so it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it should be 1 back. Okay, that's the second event. So now what we're going to do is we're going to roll travel again, see how we do. Not great. We failed. Okay, so what that means is instead of happening 3 away with any bonus success dice, it's going to happen 2 away with no chance for success. So we're going to keep heading northwest along. I said north twice. I meant that, like northwest, not directly northwest, along the edge of the Weather Hills. We're going to advance 2 spaces this time, and then we're going to roll on the solo journey table. Okay, so I rolled a 5, and a 5 is a mishap. If the roll fails, add 1 day to the length of the journey, and the target gains 1 additional fatigue. So, again, I hope I'm doing this right. Like, I hope I'm not supposed to be taking any fatigue. That's how I read it, but I didn't know maybe under certain circumstances you're actually supposed to. Let me just double check that. The Endurance of the Ranger is on page 88. I think it literally said you just don't take fatigue when traveling. So if you wear a suit of leather armor or no armor at all and carry no shield, you never gain fatigue during a journey. Okay. I feel like that's pretty clear. Never. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to the mishap table. Let's see. Sparse wildlife, outcome hunting, consequence of the skill. Okay, so somehow I feel like if there was a way for me just to get the outcome into the first roll, I think this starting table would give me all the information. So maybe I just mislabeled that somehow. Okay. When you start like nesting tables within tables, I start to get confused a little bit. So let's keep going. So what I need to do is I need to do a hunting roll. Now my hunting is decent, right? Yeah. Not favored. It's 2d6. And again, like, it might add a day to the journey, but I'm not going to gain fatigue because I never gain fatigue on a journey. So this is why I didn't know if it's like, does it matter if it's because of a failed event roll? And it says never, so let's just see what happens. Oh, I succeeded. Okay. I didn't expect to succeed. So I was looking for a target number of 13. I had 2d6 and a d12, the fate die and 2 success dice. I rolled a 5 on the feat die. Not great. But on the success dice, I rolled a 6 and a 3. So the 6 then becomes a great success. Total is 14, so I beat the target number by 1. I guess you need to tie the target number, so I guess I beat it by... Yeah, whatever. Anyway. So what's going to happen is sparse wildlife. So on the road, you know, maybe we're starting to run... I start to get a little nervous about food. Maybe I haven't seen any animals. Maybe the increased orc presence, they're sort of either depleting the animals or have chased the animals off. They know when things are about to break bad, so they split. And they are just not here. So the food I was expecting to be able to find, I'm not finding. And so I have to start sort of, you know, I guess because I succeeded, I don't need to add a day to the length of the journey. So maybe I get lucky and I find, like, you know, an unmolested patch of berries or something that I determine are edible, and use that to sort of keep myself going for a little bit when I was expecting to be able to find, like, a hare or something, you know, small I could hunt to roast. And that's that part of this journey. So now let's do another travel roll. I'll bring up my character. So again, if we were playing in a group, we would be rolling, like, which of us is the target. Is it the guide? Is it the hunter? Is it the scout? You know, and then that person would be on the hook. And then we'd all sort of work out, you know, the story. Let's see, our travel roll. Extraordinary success. On the feat die, the d12, I rolled a 9. On the success dice, the d6s, I rolled a 6, 6, and a 1. So I'm going to be able to go 5 days this time. 3 for the success, and then 2 more days for the 6s on the d6. So I'm going to be able to go 5 days this time. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is getting me close to the North Downs. I've gotten, I've gotten north of the Weather Hills. Again, I've stayed east of the dark lands of the North Downs, and now I've basically gone as north as I need to, and the only step left is to hook west before I start exploring the North Downs and going from there. So let's boom, 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 boom. So I guess I need to roll the journey event table. I rolled another mishap. Let's roll the mishap table. It's going to be explore. Event, lost direction. Explore to find your way. Consequences of the skill roll. If the roll fails, add 1 day to the length of the journey. Gain 1 fatigue. I'm not going to lie. I am glad in Strider mode that I have the, the stamina of the ranger or whatever, the chantric keep going of the ranger. But there's something a little bit like in a group, I would love the idea of us like racking up fatigue, trying to say, okay, you know what, we need to take a day here, make camp, get some of that fatigue down. And then at the end of the trip, you sort of like, if you have a horse, you can subtract the horse's endurance or whatever from your fatigue, so it helps out. And then you roll like some D6s, and for every success or something, you can drop it down by another point. There's ways to mitigate it at the end, so you're not just stuck going in with like a fatigue of 10. But it would have been fun. I could see it being fun, like managing and negotiating that along the way, especially on a long trip like this, right? Like this was like a 15-day journey. I was trying to figure out a way to break it up. Like, maybe there was like a ranger camp, on the halfway point that I could have stopped at. But I was like, no, let's see how this goes, making it a full trip. The planning of the route, I think, is something... I don't remember that in Dragonbane, which does have some hex crawl elements to it. And I definitely don't remember that. We definitely don't do it in Forbidden Land. So there's something cool about this planning the route and sticking to it. I really like this aspect of it. Okay, so I needed to explore to find my way. So let's get an explore roll going, which again, I think I'm okay at. It's favored with 2d6. So let's roll a feat die and 2 success dice. I think it's going to be okay. Barely. So, and the only reason why I was able to succeed is because it's a favored skill, and because for the feat dice, I rolled a 9 and a 5. You take the 9. The success dice, I tanked. I rolled 2 2s. So if I had not rolled that 9, I was about to fail that travel roll. So favoring that skill definitely paid off there. Okay, so forgot what I was doing. Okay, so that means we're going to be able to go 3. Okay, that's what I was determining. So because we succeeded, that means we can go 3 hexes without an event. I only have 1 more to go, so that means my journey is going to come to an end. So there we go. So we've traveled from Bree east along the Great East Road, hooked north around Weathertop, keeping the Weather Hills to our west, continued north, keeping the North Down, the hills of the North Downs to our west. And now we've arrived at, so I'm going to start pulling stuff off here. I'm going to pull this off. And now we've arrived at a hex that's sort of nested, with the dark lands of the North Downs to the west, the southwest, and the southeast. So we're sort of right there in a pocket and right on the edge and ready to, ready to head in and start taking a look and seeing what's going on with this ancient evil there in the North Downs. So, oh yeah, let me also erase this. I'm going to erase our drawing so get a clearer idea of where we are. And yeah. So that was a journey phase, and now again, this is all part of the adventure phase. The adventure phase is basically just an adventure, And, so far we've had, the council phase. Now, I think in the rulebook I read, they suggest that you start with the council phase. I don't, there's a lot of suggestions in here I don't think maybe are necessary. Maybe for experienced role players are not necessary, but I thought, I thought I read that somewhere in the book, so I stuck one in at the beginning. I thought it made narrative sense. And now we're here at the destination. We're ready to start exploring and figuring out what this, what's causing problems on the roads, which, we saw, I guess, is already happening. Maybe I actually blanked on what my overall quest was when I came up with the murdered merchants, but that's the actual quest. Figure out why merchants are being harassed and attacked from these evil lands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here, just check some of the rules again, because I feel like I need to just refresh maybe the potential next set of random tables I might need, or just to see what's going on. And we'll pick this up in a minute. So yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So, yeah, we're going to just jump right in. Obviously, last time, traveled around. We're here, sort of this crux of, surrounded by what's the, we're in the wildlands just outside of the North Downs, and now it's time to start investigating this potential ancient something that Gilrain's a little nervous about that's been jamming up merchants, etc., etc. I believe that's what I should have wrote this down. Let me just double check really quickly. Solo journey, no. Patron quests, we're looking at Gilrain, and it's enemy patrols prowl along the roads, targeting merchants, yeah. So I actually looked through some of my old stuff for the One Ring, and the One Ring actually has a book with adventures for this general area. I think it's called Ruins of the North. And I started like, maybe, yeah, no. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing this like solo random table kind of stuff and see how it goes. So, but there is a North Downs random encounter table in the book. So, this role will be Forgotten Words. The player heroes uncover an inscription I'm going to butcher pronunciation, Enduniac on a wall, slab of marble on the mosaic floor, for example. A roll of lore is required to translate it. The content hints. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're here on the edge of the North Downs, as we said. So we're going to establish sort of like a base camp here. And, we're going to sort of set up something that we feel secure, crashing for the night. Maybe it's like a hidden under a rock crop or something. We found a place that's going to protect us a little bit from the elements and, keep us out of sight while we, start going into the North Downs. So we're not going to need the journal tables so much anymore. And this is where it starts to be a little free floating, a little bit more on your own, at least from what I can kind of gather. So I've got the random table from the main rulebook, and then we've got the lore tables now to help, give us inspiration. But aside from that, we're kind of on our own for what we uncover, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pulling off. We don't need the journey tables so much. So let's remove that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring into my macro bar, which I know is covered up by my dumb face, but there's nothing really to see. I'm going to bring in some of the macros for telling. We have the North Downs random. The telling table just basically is like, is it likely? Is it not likely? It's the sort of yes-no table. And then let's see if we can bring in the lore table. The lore table, I'm just going to put right here. Let me just look at it to see. Okay, so what it does, if you're curious, it's basically linking to other subtables. So you can roll basically a feat die, which is a d12, and then there's a table for each of the choices. So that's why if you're looking at the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, you see that the options are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because those take you to the subtables of the same name, which I'll, on screen shows you the different adjectives, the action, aspect, focus for 1, 2, 3. So let's do a quick roll on the lore table and see what we get just to get things started. So let's do this. Let's say we make camp, we spend the night, maybe we even spend a day or two getting a little bit of the lay of the land, maybe a little bit of, what we can do? Let's just do a hunt. Here we go. Do I have hunting? I do. Let's just see how we're doing here. So I roll poorly. I roll a 12, so I have a failure. So what I'm going to do is, we had the sort of food shortage a little while ago, but I was able to sort of get around it on the journeys. Here, I'm going to say that I don't. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump my fatigue up 2 points. So if you're looking on screen, the character sheet, you enter fatigue of 2. Your load then changes, and then your load, if it ever matches your endurance, you start to get weary, and that creates all sorts of problems for you. Not all sorts of problems, but it can start to jam up some of your skill tests. So I'm going to give myself 2 fatigue because we just did have this long journey, which I don't take fatigue from, but maybe I'll just make it 1. No, 2 seemed to be a number that happened a lot on my tables that I ignored, so we'll go with that and just see what happens. And that way, because like I was saying, I missed having to navigate those numbers on the journey. So maybe I'll make it a little bit more important here where I might have to take a day to rest, recuperate. So we wait until, say, dawn, and we decide to make an excursion into the North Downs. We've got forgotten words, and let's roll the lore table just see if anything else comes up. Defend good fellowship. Okay, so let's say we... Now, again, the way I imagine the Downs is from Lord of the Rings Online. It's hilly. There are trees, but it's not like thick woods. The sort of gridded Eriador map here sort of indicates that there are some woods in among the hills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head straight west into the hilly woods. Whoops, did I not? There we go. And start to figure things out. So what I'm going to do is every hex is a day, right? So what's going to happen is we're going to go into the woods and we're going to have to we can't just go in and out and pop around and stuff like that. Like, we're going to have to make an excursion into the woods, and we're doing it at a little bit of a disadvantage. So maybe this would be another journey roll, but I want to play it differently because this is the adventure. So we get to this first hex, and as we saw, we got forgotten words, uncovered an inscription in Aduniac. Adunaic is how it's probably pronounced. Adunaic. How long do you want me to sit here and embarrass myself trying to say this word? So we need a lore roll. I think I'm pretty good at lore. It's favored. It's a 2d6. Looks like I rolled just under. I rolled a 12. I needed a 13. So that's disappointing. So what I do is I sit there and again, the quest is what's attacking the merchants. The fear is that it's something older and sinister. So I come across these ruins and I find this, old inscription, and I take a rubbing of it. And realizing that, while I can't make heads or tails of it, maybe Gilrain or somebody, among our rangers can. And we'll go from there. So we sort of pass into, that's the daytime. So, maybe it's exploring, trying to cover ground, making sure we sort of establishing a system so we're not just randomly wandering, hoping, like throwing a dart at a dartboard. We want to have a system in place to make sure we're exploring and figuring things out. And so, defend good fellowship. Those are the lore table results. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can do about it. Maybe what I am able to tell about these ruins is that it was maybe like a little bit of a defensive position from like a long time ago. I don't know anything about the North Downs. Again, I was trying to Google it really quickly, and I feel like at some point they were inhabited by men. And I know on the screen you're sort of seeing on the edge of the window and Numinas. I think that was like a really old fortress city of sorts. And so let's just say like this is sort of a, it's right here on the edge of the hills. Maybe we've sort of uncovered the old dilapidated ruins of like a forward post. And yeah, and maybe that's what the Defend Good Fellowship was. It's, from a time when these weren't the Darklands, and we found something, we found something inscribed. And maybe it's not even like an official, it could even be something that was just sort of chipped in by somebody who's on station here. I can't really tell. I guess I would be able to tell that because it might be a little clumsy, or it might be a little more scratched into the wall and less chiseled with precision. So that's the first day. So what I'm going to do now is I might sort of break these into like days and nights, right? Because I know the other games in the Free League system tend to do it in quarter days, but I think overall I'm sort of like a lone wanderer trying to explore. I don't want to stumble across 7 things every day, if you get my meaning. So let's figure out, how do I do making camp? Nope, that's my fellowship. I need my character. So what would making camp be? I think it's travel. Let's do a travel roll and see how we're doing. Get an Eye of Sauron. So that's bad for a number of reasons. First of all, we're going to have to up our eye awareness from a 4 to a 5. And I actually didn't miss the failure roll by that much, because on my success dice, the D6, I have 3 of them, and I rolled a 5 through 3. So that got me to an 11. So that almost got the roll there. Now, just so you know, like under normal circumstances, say I had rolled enough on the success dice to pass the test, but I had rolled an Eye of Sauron. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I would still pass under these normal circumstances, because all the Eye of Sauron does on the feat die is make it so it's a 0. You don't get anything from that die. Later on, it could be other things, but let me see if there's anything here. I think there's a table for fortune and ill fortune, so let me see when to use that. Action resolution, setting the target number, we're doing 18. It's interesting, in the first edition, the target number was more fluid in a sort of a typical way, like easy is at 8, making these up. Standards 10. The GM had some control of the target number, but they've gotten rid of that and made this standard target numbers you hit that differ between characters depending on your skills. And the way to manipulate them is like favored, ill-favored with the D12s, or by adding or subtracting D6s to the roll. So I don't know which is preferable. I don't know if there's players out there that have played both systems and can say like yes or no to one over the other. But right now, I need to know. Reading the feat die, sure. Gandalf rune, of course. Rolling the Gandalf rune means a successful action was bolstered by fortune. Great. To help inspire a random result, roll the fortune table. And I rolled a Sauron, so I'm going to roll on the ill fortune table. So let me bring those out, because they're probably going to be a little more important. Fortune, so I'll grab fortune and ill fortune. So I need the ill fortune table, so let's see what's going on. Get some. A favored weapon or item is lost, broken, or sacrificed. Interesting. Huh, okay. Let's see what I have on me. I don't actually have a lot on me, but I believe do I lose my sword? Like, is it something, like, do I have my bow out? There's a couple things I could lose. Either my sword, because I was sort of walking around with my bow, or do I lose... I also have the Sunstone. Is that what it's, I don't remember what I called it. I don't know where I wrote it. War gear equipment, sunstone, yeah. Now the sunstone is going to help me, avoid getting lost. Did I write down what that does? Helps player navigate in bad weather. I feel like that's more like, there's a couple things I could see myself losing. One is the sunstone. The sword would be significant. Broken seems like, I don't know. The other thing that I could lose is my food. And that would force me to go back to camp, and I would sort of lose some time. But I think what I'm going to do is just so we can keep things moving here, I'm going to say I drop my sword. Like I'm sort of crawling around the hills trying to find a camp, and like part of what I did was I mistimed, the arrival of night. Because I've been used to guarding the road, right? Maybe my skills are a little soft. I mistimed timing, when the sun would go down, when evening would come, when night would fall. And so I'm starting to create like a camp in a panic. And in doing so, maybe I'm trying to think, like, do I fall? How do I misplace my sword? Maybe I find like sort of like this little outcropping I think is a little defensible. Set my sword down, but as I'm setting up my camp, I knock it and it goes over an edge. So now I got to go find it. So let's see if there's anything from the lore table. I'll roll the lore table. Maybe I'll roll the ruins and broken stones table as well, but let me just... Oh, let's roll the telling table. Like, is it easy to get my sword? And I think that's going to be... What would I say? I'll say that's middling, It's uncertain if it's easy or not. So let's give that a shot. Yes. Okay, so it's not that hard. So maybe it sort of tumbles down a little bit, but I can clearly see it. And I just need to get down there and grab it. So now the question is there anything that's going to stop me from getting it? And again, I'm just going to make that middling because I don't know. Absolutely, yes. Okay. Interesting. So what... I think is it just like orcs? But let's just roll the... Let's roll a couple of other things just to have the options, see what they say. Endure empty followers, okay. Let's see what the random table would say. Unstable foundations. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to say that I because this is all random, I can't have atmospheric images. I apologize for that. So what we're going to say is endure empty followers. We're going to say that there's a group of... I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with the endure, but empty and followers. I'm going to say like a group of men go by. Let me see how many there are. I'm going to roll a d6. 2. Okay, so there's not that many. But let's just say that there's some men that are going by that are sort of maybe dressed a little strangely. I don't need to do that. Let me do a lore roll just to see if I have any recognition of what they're looking like. Great success. So what I rolled was, again, lore is a favored with a 2d6 stat. So rolled a 5 and a 3 on the feat die, so the 5 counts, and then on the 2d6 I rolled a 4 and a 6. So it's a great success. So what I'm seeing men that are like minions of Angmar. So it is true, Angmar has got people here in the North Downs. To what end, I don't exactly know specifically. I don't know how this is all working. I just know that I'm looking at 2 guys, and they are dressed in a way that I can connect them to Angmar as being sort of, and that's why I was like empty followers. So they're followers, And what I'll say is sort of like the emptiness is just sort of that hollow the minions of evil sort of have behind their eyes. It's not like they're zombies or anything, but they've sort of chosen to follow blindly this evil, and so there's sort of like this emptiness. They're not choosing to stand for something good. So let's say there's two of them, and they have, for some reason, maybe they were drawn to the sounds I was making. Maybe I was being louder than I thought. So the question is, do they see the sword fall? I'm just going to say again, it's middling. I don't know. Not sure why it drew 4 choices. Oh, it's middling, right? Because that's why. Because I set it up. If it was certain, yes. Likely, yes. Middling, yes. So they find the sword. And this is going to go poorly because I need that sword, first of all. And second of all, like, I'm here 5 minutes and they already know somebody might be onto them. Poking around, trying to figure out what they're here to do. So let's, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pull something up. I pulled up some basic maps. There's also something I bought, fantasy maps from Lion Banner. And, it's a whole series of just basic maps that cover generic whatevers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Forest Path Night. I'm going to activate it. And we're just going to play out this scene here. I'm going to put myself on this thing. I believe because this is a module that I bought at some point. I think I bought at some point. So I'm going to assume that they put vision on here. So you can sort of see, if you're looking on the video, on the southern part of the map, you can sort of see they've done a little line of sight with the tree line below. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of sneak down. Let's see, there's going to be 2 guys. Let's go to the NPCs. Adversaries, I guess it would be. There's, there's the first edition. This all comes with the module. There's the first edition adversaries. Just looking for just a couple of dudes. Runes of the North. Armed Man. That seems like it would be. Like I said, Runes of the North is the module from the first edition that is an adventure book for this that covers this general area. So let's just say we have 2 armed men. And they come across my sword. I'm going to name this guy Armed Man 2, if it lets me. Might not. This is Armed Man 1. I'll just have to remember it somehow. Doesn't change the token name. I'm not going to dig into that. That's just too much. Okay, so they find the sword. I'm going to give myself a stealth roll to see if I'm able to sort of get in position to watch them and see what's going on. A stealth roll for my character sheet. Let me just clean all this up a little bit. Go there, there. Okay. Now, stealth is something I'm not favored in, but I've got 3 dice in it. So let's see how we do. Do I spend a hope point? Let's save those. Looks like I'm going to get it. Okay, so extraordinary success. My total die roll was a 24 on I could have even, because it's nighttime, I could have given it a favored, but I'm not going to. On a test roll of 13, 8 on the feature die. I got 2 6s on the success dice. So I'm super duper stealthy. And so there's no way they're going to get me. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to be able to sort of advance closer to get a better view of what's going on. And, one question is like, what language do people speak in Angmar? You always hear like black speech, but everybody says it like it's this horrible thing. What's language Angmar? Let's see if there's any. Let's see. It says, in the early Third Age, the human populace of Angmar seems to have spoken a dialect closely related to Borean or Ulbandic. In later times, Westron was spoken, and occasionally Hillman dialects. So there's a chance that they are speaking Westron, which is, common. So I'm just going to say they're speaking common. And now Now here's a question. Can they do any rolls? You don't really... in second edition, maybe in first edition, they had skills. Like for real skills. In second edition, they don't really. So it's like an attribute level of 3. So basically their attributes are all 3 that you sort of figure out how to do. I don't know how you do a die roll. So in theory, their target number would be like a 15. And I don't know how you figure that out. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. So basically they find my sword and they're sort of taken aback by what's going on. Maybe what I was trying to figure out is, do they know that it's a sword that belongs maybe to a ranger of the north? I'm just going to say no. And, you know, looking at the stats for these guys, they're actually pretty good with a spear and a bow. They've got 2 pips in both, where I'm only good with a bow and I've only got 1 in my sword, which of course I don't have at the moment. So they've got 1d armor, no headgear, a parry of 1. So I think what we need to do is I need to set up an ambush. Maybe that was also my stealth roll, was setting up the ambush. So I've got myself in a position to set up an ambush. And do I loose the arrow? Do I go to town on this and start a combat? I think the answer might be yes. I think I've got to get my sword back up. And I think just so the people watching this know, like, I'm not going to let myself just get killed right away and end the whole thing. I want to play this out and see what happens. So, and maybe that's what you're supposed to do anyway with a solo adventure, but that's what I'm going to do here. So what we need to do is we need to switch to my battlefield. Can I copy and paste? I don't know if it'll let me. Copy data for 3 token objects. Let's bring it to the battlefield. And the reason why I want to do that is because it's got the... Okay. It's got the... it's got the whole business on it. Okay, so now for an ambush, I think I roll my stealth, and if I succeed, then the enemy are not able to do anything for the opening volley or the first round of close encounters. So that could give me basically 2 opening attacks. But let me just double check, and then I'll talk through combat a little bit. Ambush is 95. So let me see. Surprise attacks. Yeah, so it's a stealth roll. So we'll make that stealth roll. Preparing an ambush when succeed. Let me see if there's any bonus. There might not be any bonus for like super success. So we'll just go with that. So the way combat works in this is you're seeing sort of on the screen, there's like this cheat sheet table that I got from the Discord channel, the One Ring Discord channel. Again, a lot of really great tools made there. So the first round of combat, if it makes sense, is you start with an opening volley. People loosing arrows at each other, you're taking some shots. After you do that opening volley, everybody starts moving into position. You can choose one of 3 stances if you're going to enter into melee. You can go into a forward stance, which is all about attack. You can go into an open stance, which is sort of a balance between attacking and defense. Or you can go into a defensive stance, which is obviously focusing on defense. If you have people, you know, we have 2 adversaries here. If I had 2 allies that could jam these guys up in melee, a third person could hang back in ranged stance and keep firing arrows. But you have to have people. You have to have enough people to engage each of the enemies. So if you've got 2 enemies, you got to have 2 people to engage them, so the third can hang back. Because we're in Strider mode, there's also something called Skirmish. Now, Skirmish is a special Strider mode only. I wonder if you could incorporate it. I don't know. It's a stance you can take in it's not range, it'd be the rearward stance, and that's where you could like aim, you could prepare shots. But you need people up front to engage the enemy in melee. Skirmish allows you to sort of, it's all about sticking and moving with a ranged weapon, which is why I was going to improve with the bow and not the sword. You can also do things like gain ground, which means you, on your next attack, get into a favorable position, so you get a bonus die. Now, the trick with a skirmish is that because you're moving around, you're not really getting set. All of your attacks lose a die in penalty. Any melee attack against me, though, lose a die as well. So I think the idea with this is either I'm going to burn hope to take my shots, or I'm going to gain ground and be able to sort of shoot every other turn. So I'm getting that, because I only have 2 dice. So if I lose one, I'm in trouble. So I need to get that second one back. So I think I'm going to be burning a lot of hope. And I think I'm going to be taking advantage of that skirmish. So I think for my opening shot, I'm going to target the top armed man. And he's going, sorry, I just realized, I don't know how much sound is going to come through, but we're starting to get into springtime, so the ambient sounds of lawn care might re-enter the conversation. I'm trying to see if it's getting, when I talk, you're definitely going to hear it because it's breaching the, you know what? Let me stop because my neighbor's about to get their lawn cut, and we'll pick this back up in a sec. Okay, let's give it a try. Things are starting to get a little busy here. So I was in the middle of combat. I actually just recorded a bunch of stuff and realized I was muted the whole time, so I'm sort of rewinding a little bit. So I'm just going to start at the beginning of round 3. I have no idea where I was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to target this gentleman in melee. I'm going to try I'll do an athletics, see if I can get that 1d back. I'm going to roll 12. Okay, so then 1 shot. Man, it's sort of interesting. So skirmish keeps you alive is what I'm getting from this, but it's not letting me do much else. So now they're going to target me. He's going to attack me with a spear, -1 die. Oh no. Oh, okay. Why is that a failure? A 13. 13. I guess my parry is an 18. Did they have to beat my parry? Because that would be nuts. In which case, like, why am I worried? I should just be going into melee mode and going nuts. The next one's going to attack me with a bow. That's a failure. They rolled a Rune of Gandalf, which makes that roll a 0. So now it's my turn. I think, you know what? I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go into the next round. I'm going to go into open stance. That way I'm not losing any dice at least. And then I'm going to attack with a 2-handed sword. I'm going to spend hope, and maybe I can get a shot on this guy. So let me do this. It's going to be equip my longsword. I don't know if that's like a slow action and I need to switch, but I'm just going to go with it. And I don't think there's... Oh, no, I'm going to spend a hope point. That's inspired. So let's see how I do. So I definitely get some damage going. So I'm going to do a sword. What does the sword do? It does a damage of 5 as opposed to my damage of 3 for the bow. So that in and of itself is going to get this guy down from 6 endurance to 1. And now I have options. I can heavy blow to add another 5 damage because I got a success on my success dice. I got a 6 on one of the d6s. I can fend off, which then adds +2 to my next attack. To the next attack against me. Pierce is going to add 1 feat die. But this is all the same attack. Gain ground. Fighting foes to gain ground. I think what I'll do is heavy blow will finish him off. So I think I'm going to pick heavy blow. Now, let me see. So deals 10 damage total. That's a lot. 5 from the sword, and 2 from... 5 from the sword because that's his damage, 5 from the heavy blow. So 10 points damage. Okay, so maybe the problem is I'm dancing around a little bit too much in skirmish mode. So this is Armed Man 1 is dead. Now, this gentleman maybe can still shoot at me, but the next round we have to be... Like, I don't think he can stay in ranged. You know, I was engaged this turn, so I'm going to let Armed Man 2 take a bow shot at me. Doesn't get a minus because I'm not doing my skirmish business. Rolls a 12, which is a failure. So there we go. And now I think it's on. I think we now engage, and I'm going to go open stance. Or do I go... I was going to say, I could do forward stance, which is going to give me an extra attack. But then they get an extra die on their attack. So it's sort of a trade-off, right? Let's stay open. It's a little conservative, but not crazy conservative, I guess. But it does seem like, you know, the skirmish mode, anything where you're losing a die, really, unless you're a master, unless you like really pumped points into fighting. If I had 3 pips in sword or bow, I'd feel more comfortable with it. Well, bow, I guess, for skirmish. Because otherwise, I feel like the ability to hit is going to be really hampered. I'm going to roll my sword. Do I spend another hope? I think I need to spend another hope. I'm going to get a hit with a great success. So I got a 7 on the feat die. I got a d6 on one of the 6s. So that's going to allow me to do 5 points of damage for endurance right off the bat. So it goes from a 12 to a 7. And why is it not letting me choose a hit? So I think I could do another 5 points of damage, or I could get +2 to parry. Pierce, let me see. What did I get on my... No, I got a 7. So even if I added 2 to the feat die, I wouldn't get it to a 10 for a piercing blow. So I think I'm just going to do a heavy blow. Because I'm in pretty good shape. So that's going to do another, let's see. So I can spend 1 success icon to inflict an additional loss of endurance equal to your strength rating. My strength rating is a 5, but I get a +1. Ooh, I didn't do that last time. I get a +1 because I'm using my weapon in two-handed mode. So that's going to take his endurance from a 7 down to a 1. So he's in bad shape. Interesting. Okay. So that was my turn. So now we're going to go to the armed man. I wonder why I can't choose my... There's no way to choose... There's no way to choose my stance. I'm wondering if I wasn't in skirmish mode. You know what I mean? Strider mode, if it would let me do that. Okay. So here we go. It's his turn to attack me. Make sure I'm targeted. He's going to do a spear attack. Straight roll. It's going to roll an 11, which is definitely going to miss. Now I'm going to roll, because it's my turn. We're into the 5th round or so. I don't know. Like I said, I had to redo some stuff because I forgot to unmute my mic for about 10 minutes. I am going to attack with... You know, I'm just going to see if I get lucky. I don't know if I can keep blowing hope points. I'm down only to 6. Nope, that's going to be a miss. So what I might do is then I might start moving back into skirmish. He's going to attack me with a spear. It's going to be an automatic miss because he rolled a Rune of Gandalf. So I'm going to drop back into skirmish mode. Can I just switch? And then I'm going to try and gain ground. I don't know if I have to spend an action to switch stances. That's an athletics roll. 12, just miss it. Okay. So now he's going to try and attack me with a spear, but now we're back to like minus 1d. And that's a total miss. I'm going to try again. And do an athletics roll. 13, did it. Okay, so my next attack is going to be at full force. His spear attack is going to be at minus 1d again. 6, failure. Okay. So now it's my turn. I'm going to roll my bow. I don't have to take a minus, so I'm just going to give it a shot. Everything is normal. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. It's saying my target number is a 31. And I don't know why that's the case. Something's off there. His parry is a 1, so that means it should be my attack. My target number of a 13 modified by his parry is a 1, so it's a 14. Just making sure. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's a 13, right? A bow is a strength. I think they're all strength. All your weapons. So it's a 13. Not sure why that's giving me a target. It should be a 14. Let me... So here we go. A lot of good things happen on that bow shot. I get a great result. I got a 10 on the feat die, which means I'm going to be able to do a piercing blow. So with a piercing blow, what happens is the target number is the roll equal to the injury rating of the weapon being used. The bow's injury rating should be, I think, a 14. It is a 14. So what the armed man gets to do is he gets to roll his armor plus a feat die. So let me see if there's a way. So it's getting a target number of 15. Why is that? I thought it should be a 14, but I did get a success on my D6. I don't know if that adds to it. But for some reason it's saying a target number difficulty of 15, and I feel like it should be a 14 unless I'm missing something. Or is he weary because he's hurt? It might be something like that because he's pretty beat up. I don't know if that's why. I'm just going to make it a 14. Maybe there's a reason why it's 15. I don't know it, though. Okay, so rolled a 4, a failure. So that means the armor did not protect him from the shot, which means he's going to receive a wound. When you receive a wound, I think NPCs are dead. At the same time, he also takes, endurance points from my bow, which is 3, so his 1's down anyway. He would have taken an extra 5 damage from a heavy blow. So this guy was getting killed about 4 different ways. So there we go. We had a combat in the books. We're going to end combat. I'm not going to... I didn't... There's a couple things. I could see this being really interesting with a group, right? Solo, one-on-one, just like boom, 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 boom. I like the idea that you can get special actions if you get the right rolls on the success dice. I like those little tweaks. It's something that we talked a lot about playing Dragonbane. Something I mentioned in Mithras. I like those things that can sort of shortcut combat a little bit. I don't know if I did this perfectly correct, but I could see, just like I didn't fully appreciate how much a Bane would impact your skill checks and stuff like that in Dragonbane. I'm looking up there because my game's right there. Being down a D here, being down a die here, really can make a difference. So I think it raises the question, I went jack of all trade on a lot of things, but maybe when it came to weapons, I should have invested to get 3 pips into 1 and not 2 into 1 in another, or whatever. Or maybe that was just part of character creation. You get 2 and 1. And but maybe there would have been an advantage to having 3 and 1 to start off. Because if we were dealing with target numbers of 20, I mean, forget it, right? We would have burned through hope so quickly. Now, you know, in the book, I said there's sometimes a lot of suggestions that I'm like, oh, why would you suggest that? This game suggests that you have a combat every session or two. Like, so it's not intended to be a super combat heavy game. And I think I sort of see why, because you really can burn through your hope pretty quickly, which is a good thing. I wanted to burn through my hope so that I would have to manage that aspect of it. So what that means is that we are back on the road. These 2 gentlemen have been vanquished. I've emerged victorious from, you know, the shadows, doing a successful sneak attack, getting the fight started, and I guess, technically speaking, I would not have had my sword in that fight. Let's just say somehow in the opening, like I came and I, through my surprise, you know, I took a shot with arrows while they're trying to figure out what to do. I grabbed my sword and didn't have time to escape, so that we had to encounter each other and deal with the consequences. But overall, I definitely liked combat. I liked how this all worked. I'd be curious to see, again, you know, having people engaging in different stances, you know, how that might go, or if you're a little further along in your character progression, you know, you might have like a magical shield or something like that. So you go full defense and you're clogging up the work so somebody behind you can shoot, or I have no idea really. Or somebody gets like a super bow, like a Legolas bow. And so everybody says, let's just go full defense and let him plonk people from behind. I could see some tactics developing because of that. But otherwise, what we will do is we have finished our first day. It hasn't been entirely smooth. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down a tile of some kind just to mark where my camp is, because I'm going to forget. So I'm going to put this here. It's just what I'm doing for the listeners is I'm just putting a little marker in the hex, just something so I know where my base camp's supposed to be. And so that's the first day of exploring the North Downs, trying to find out just what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this here. I'm glad we were able to really get into the meat of the mechanics in this session. I talked too much in the last one. I really apologize. Otherwise, this has been Black Lodge Trivia Night. This has been a really great time. Again, this has been the One Ring 2nd Edition. We're going to keep this going from Free League using some Strider rules. And yeah, we're going to keep going and seeing if we can figure out what's going on up here in the North Downs. Black Lodge Trivia Night's usually a podcast for actual play tabletop RPGs. We do video here on YouTube. If you prefer audio only versions, just search for Black Lodge Trivia Night wherever you get your podcasts, and we should show up. If you're watching this, you've already found the YouTube channel, and we appreciate that. If you want, you can like and subscribe. We basically do, like I said, actual plays of tabletop RPGs, but we also do a lot of CRPG stuff. You know, Matt's been doing some Soulsborns on our Twitch channel. I've been doing a variety of things here on YouTube. You can find it all here if you want. But otherwise, you know, we appreciate everybody who's checked this stuff out, who's taken a look, who's subscribed. And if you want, come join our Discord. You know, basically we talk about RPGs, both tabletop and computer. So thanks again. Hope everybody's doing well, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. The music during the RPG session in Foundry was provided by the Foundry module Tabletop RPG Music and composed by Ian Fisher. You can find his Patreon at www.patreon.com/tabletop RPG music, all one word.